Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Check Service Industry Podcast. I'm Reyshan Parker, and if you haven't had a chance yet, please go watch Season 1 and Season 2 of my television series, Beyond the Check Worker Owner Edition, now streaming on Amazon Prime and Fox's Tubi TV. Tubi TV, it's free TV, also free on Prime. Anyway, good times. I have a wonderful guest today. She is a chef of over 20 years. She is a business consultant to restaurants, and she just loves the culinary world. She spent a lot of time in Paris just eating her way around, which we're going to talk about, and she also has some fun new projects coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, coming from us straight from Oakland, California, Deagon B. Williams. Hi, Deagon.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excited to be here with you.
It's only taken us a year, but we finally managed to hang out.
We're quick that way.
You know, life happens. What are you gonna do?
It does. It does. It was my first pandemic, so I was a little slow on the uptake.
Hey, you know, first one this time too.
Yeah.
It was fun. I had a great
time.
I chilled out.
Did you?
Oh yeah. It was just, luckily there was like nobody else in our house. It was just me and my wife and the dogs, and yeah, we just walked the dogs and trails, and we went grocery shopping, and we ate and we cooked and we drank and we walked the dogs, and we ate and we drank and we walked the dogs, and we ate and we drank and we walked the dogs. And
Yeah.
and didn't really have to worry about a whole lot of anything. It was great. It was like the best I'm in Georgia, so we had a 3-month vacation.
It was only 3 months.
Yeah. We were open.
Okay.
We had everything open by, I think the restaurants opened in April and the bars opened in June.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, we don't give a shit. I made a lot of money. Anyway, how was
Yeah.
I know what it was like out there already, so
Yeah, we were on lockdown for like a year and a half to 2 years.
yeah, that's just nuts.
Yeah. I did some crazy things during the pandemic, though. I had this thing of, as a hobby, I'm an avid amateur cyclist. And my riding partner said, just at the very beginning of the pandemic, she's like, look, if we're going into a pandemic, at least we're going to do something that makes us better or happier coming out of it, which is kind of like what you guys did, right? Like you did the stuff that made you happy.
Yeah,
And
just hung out.
Yeah. And instead of we didn't spend any time commuting. We both worked through the pandemic, but we worked remotely. And so there was no commute time, and we rode our bikes every day at lunch.
Yeah.
And we became fundamentally better cyclists because of it.
Do you
So
still
then during the pandemic,
you still
we
keep
went
up
on
your
long
regiment?
trips. What?
You still keep up your regiment?
I don't ride every day, but I ride a lot more, and I'm certainly a better cyclist because of it. And we ended up riding basically the state of California down to Mexico during the pandemic.
Nice.
We would take off for like 4 or 5 days at a pop, rent Airbnbs, not in hotels, right? And so we would just ride from one house to the next and went down the coast of California, and it was really beautiful.
That is one thing I wish that we had done, is just like got in the car and just gone, because we could have gone anywhere, right? Like just we weren't working. So like I didn't work for that 3 months anyway. But a 3-month vacation, yeah, could have gone anywhere. Alas.
Oh, well.
Well,
now we know better for the next pandemic, right? We
you
know how to handle it.
You know what else happened during the pandemic? There were a whole lot of cookbooks written. A lot of people got particularly in California and Canada, got a lot of work done. So if you want to thank the pandemic for a plethora of new and fun cookbooks, silver linings.
Yeah, there are silver linings. It's absolutely true. That is true. I hadn't thought of that. There was a lot of sourdough. People know a lot about sourdough now.
Yeah. People who did not know anything or give a shit about making bread are bread makers today.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just met a woman last weekend at a small, out near Monte Rio, actually, a small yacht club on the Tamales Bay, who makes sourdough pretzels.
I would like a sourdough
And I was
pretzel.
like, is sourdough pretzels better? And she's like, I'm German. And so this is the reason why you want sourdough pretzels. I was like, who knew?
Who knew? Are they delicious? Have you had them?
They were ridiculously delicious.
Yeah, now I need one.
I'm like, how do you get those? And she's like,
Well, you got the bread makers now too, right? They do everything for you, right? There's the little like $250, $300 machine that
yeah,
you just dump all the ingredients in, push a button, and all of a couple hours later, bread.
it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zero work involved. Love that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's good, right? I mean, it's good bread.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's amazing. Like I don't even understand how it works. It does everything to the bread. Like you just dump in the ingredients, somehow it mixes it. It lets it sit, it lets it rise, and then when it knows it's done rising, it just starts making it, right? Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I also became the queen of the backyard party.
Oh. Did you have parties with your neighbors at social distance, or you just like all party in your backyard together? And
Yeah. I would roasted a couple of whole animals. Because my backyard is it was outside, and at some point people were like, I need human contact. And so I would roast a whole animal. And guess what? People start breaking protocols really quickly, or people start coming over. And you're like, you're roasting a pig?
you got a whole
You're roasting a lamb? Yes, I am.
Come and get it, neighbors. Camaraderie, community, way to be the center of community.
God, we really need camaraderie and a sense of community. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know my neighbors. I don't actually have any neighbors right now. I have one house that's empty on both sides of me. And
really?
Yeah. And a dog who tries to dig through under the fence in the backyard to hang out with my dogs. But I've never met the owner. I've met the dog because he's gotten into my fence before and climbed his way back through, and I had to fill in the hole. But so I've met the dog, but I've never met the person who lives in the house behind me.
Isn't it crazy how we're like that? We just don't know people.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
yeah.
and people used to when someone new moved in the neighborhood, people would take them an apple pie or lasagna.
Yep.
And yeah, no one does that, at least where I live, anymore.
Yeah.
I wonder, does anybody do that? When's the last time that anybody went and brought their new neighbors? You see it in movies even.
Well, I do it all the time.
Do you? Good for you.
Yeah. I love that stuff. I believe in that stuff. I have a young couple who I met on Nextdoor, the listserv of people are giving away things or free cycle or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were looking for a case of jars, and I gave them a case of jars, and they came over, and she was clearly quite pregnant. I think she gave birth last night, actually.
Oh, congratulations,
we've known each other for 3 months now, and we've become acquaintances. They live a block and a half away, and I'm like, I'll cook for you guys when you have your baby. And just yesterday was her husband's birthday, and she was like, I can't move. Is there any way you can? I was like, yeah. So I made her husband a chocolate almond praline cake yesterday.
You're a good neighbor, Deagon. You're a good neighbor. Like a good neighbor. Deagon
you
is
make
there.
the entire cake and you give it away, and I'm like, was it good?
So you didn't even get a bite? Oh, well, fingers crossed.
Right.
I mean, if they don't come bothering you for cake anymore,
Yeah, right. If they bother you for cake, you did a good job. If they don't bother you for cake, it's like you got that.
So anyway, obviously you're cooking. So what led you into the culinary world? Why did you spend 20 years cooking?
Doing such a thing?
Uh-huh.
I really actually wish I knew. It was something that I came up with when I was a tiny little kid. I was in preschool, and I suddenly declared to everybody that I wanted to be a chef. There weren't many examples of chefs, let alone women chefs, when I was a little kid. But somehow in preschool, I decided that that's what was up and that's what was happening. And so I always wanted to do that.
Did you have all the the little kitchen set of fake plastic food when you were a kid? No? No? Playing in the real kitchen?
Playing in the real kitchen, yeah. Yeah, I got a job in a kitchen when I was 13. I lied. I said I was 16. So I did all the salads. Oh, yeah, I did all my lying in this industry. And then I knew that I wanted to go to cooking school in France. I don't know how I knew that, but somehow I had the idea that that's what one does. And then I did my senior year in France. it was supposed to look like, I convinced my parents that it was like some kind of exchange student something or other. And it wasn't an exchange student something or other. I was looking for a cooking school. I was looking for a way in.
So you weren't
And
even in school when you went to France?
I did like a study abroad kind of thing.
Oh, just
So
like
I was in high school. And then while I was there, I found a cooking
cooking
school that
school.
needed dishwashers and translators.
Because you can speak French?
Because I could speak French because I had learned it the year before, and I could wash dishes because I didn't have any money.
Oh man, you were just plotting and planning the whole time, huh?
I was. I didn't realize that I was always a couple steps ahead, but that's where I was going and what I was doing.
Cool. Well, hey, at least you knew what you wanted to do. I always, like, since I got a video camera, like I was always gonna make stuff, right? So I always knew what I wanted to do as a kid. But you meet all these people and they have no idea. They still don't know. People in their 40s are still just like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. And like, you never knew? Like, no, just had no idea.
So the minute you got a video camera, you knew that you wanted to record things.
Yeah. Like and I was making movies. I was making my dad be the cinematographer and my sisters were the actors and my friends were the actors and my poor dad got bossed around by me. like 11 like 11 years old making like animated Lego movies, right? Like back before animated Legos were ever even a thing. This is like 1989.
Wow, you weren't kidding.
Nah.
That's amazing.
I had the Reyshan Parker show like when I was like 10, 11 that I'd just have my sisters on to interview or I don't know. That was the thing.
Good for you. So you're a director.
I'm something.
There you go. I'm something.
Do something. Food and film, I guess. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. You help people with their food endeavors.
I do.
You do.
I do.
How'd you get into consulting and
You know,
the business
it's
side
so
of
crazy.
chefing?
There have been some parts of my life that I am so clear about. Like I knew where I was going. I knew I wanted to be a chef. And then there's other areas that I kind of like stumbled into like a drunken sailor of like, how'd I get here? It's always a mystery to me of like, what are you doing, sister? So, well, like I said, I went to cooking school, right? At an early age. I was 17. I moved to the other side of the world, much to my parents' chagrin. They were like, that is the other side of the world. And I was like, nope, I'm good.
Like I'm 18 now. It's cool.
Yeah,
I live in France
now, and I had like $2,300, so I was rich.
Oh yeah. $2,300 back in the early 90s or late 90s.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I had been working and saving the whole time. So I was like, I'm out of here. See ya. And I took off, and so I was classically trained as a chef, which I went to a French cooking school, which meant I knew how to slice and dice and pull sugar and build a leaning tower. Yeah, and sauces and all kinds of stuff. But I didn't learn the first thing about any kind of like leadership or food costing or labor costing or how to write a menu. I know how to cook.
Really? They don't teach you any of that? Like
Jack diddly, nothing.
Wow.
I know how to cook.
I know yeah. I feel like most education's that way, right? They teach you how to do the thing, but they don't teach you how to actually do the thing in the real world. They leave out the real world application process and just teach you how to do things, right? Like same with film school, like taught how to be on set, how to do things, but how do you get out in the world and actually manipulate the business side of the industry?
No.
Right?
There was none of it. And then because it was like I was a woman, so late 80s, early 90s, right? It was suddenly starting to become cool to have women at the helm of fine dining restaurants on the coast, not in the middle of the country yet. And I had gone to France, and so I looked fancy, and it sounded fancy. And at the age of 24, like I came back to the States, and 3 months later, I found myself at the helm of a fine dining restaurant with 24-person kitchen staff, and daily changing menu, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. And I was like, look at that.
What have I gotten myself into?
Yeah, right.
So,
And I didn't know anything. And I was just like, go work hard. And as it turns out, people don't respond well in the same way. I was the only woman in the kitchen. I was the youngest person in the kitchen.
just because of the education?
Mm-hmm.
But yet they didn't teach you how to order, how to food cost. Nothing. Not even the food cost part, huh?
Oh, not even close. In the American schools, they will teach you that. I mean, there's a passing glance in the American schools, but in French schools at the time, there was zero, nothing.
Just this is how you do it. You're going to go work for an owner somewhere. You're not going to go start your own restaurant.
That's right.
But even working for an owner, you're like,
well, the chef.
That's your job.
Yeah, I mean, chefs in France are very different than they are in the States.
The States? Do tell.
Yeah. Well, in France, it's very much if you build it, they will come. And you don't worry. You worry about dishwasher stuff when you're a dishwasher. You worry about cook stuff when you're a cook. You worry about sous chef stuff when you're a sous chef. And so all that owner stuff we don't talk about until you're an owner. And a chef in the States absolutely would be responsible to an owner about stuff like that.
But in France, the owner takes care of all the business side.
That's right. And so it's very siloed, and we don't talk about it. And so
how'd you get through it? Like, did anybody notice that you had no idea what you were doing, or?
I'm a really hard worker. I have always had that since I was a little kid, is that I've been a really hard worker, and I was like, I will figure it out. And so I started piecing things together, figuring things out. And I made a lot of mistakes. That was the other thing. That's how I figured it out.
Right.
When you make mistakes, you learn really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I made mistakes. I realized that you couldn't lead people in the same ways that I had been led in French kitchens. Right?
You couldn't Ramsey them?
No. That you can't Ramsey them. And now that I'm a restaurant consultant, people are like, oh, so you like Gordon Ramsay? And I'm like, no. You can't be like Gordon Ramsay.
No.
Like,
you got to be a fun, friendly leader. You want happy employees. You want cooks that stick around. You don't have to hire a new one next week. Yeah.
Tomorrow, right? And also, like, I'm not paying you $10,000 to be on my TV show.
Right? Like, no. I just want to make food with you. Like, let's serve some people. Let's make some people happy and full.
Let's make some people happy, right? Absolutely. So there's definitely that. So I learned all this stuff on the side. I kind of taught myself. And then later I got a formal education. But at the time, I really definitely taught myself. And then I got done with that. And friends started saying, so you know how to do this food cost stuff? Do you know how to do, like, what do I do with this problem employee? And I just figured some stuff out because I figured it out. Yeah, I figured it out. I was in a pickle.
You were in the frying pan.
I was in it, and I was responsible to somebody for like an $18 million restaurant. So I had to do some stuff. And then that's when friends started asking me to help. And then other friends started. And then I just kind of suddenly became a restaurant consultant.
Fell into it.
Or fell into it backwards like a drunken sailor, right? I was like, damn!
I help people.
Yeah. And then about, 15 years later, I was like, maybe this is my new business. And so I hung a shingle and
ta-da!
Came up with a name off the cuff, which was like the worst name for a business, called Culinary Business Strategy.
I read that.
It's a horrible name for a business, but it's exactly what I do.
It is Culinary Business Strategy. So
I help with food and business and strategy.
So what is just like the first thing that we should know? Like food cost, right? Like just basic food cost.
Food cost would be great.
All
yes.
Right. Just the very basics of how you make money in a restaurant.
Yeah. I think the very first thing, I'm working on a couple of new seminars that are coming up in the next month or so for different departments across the United States or different cities across the United States. And one of them is like, what is the new financial model? And one is just knowing what our break even is. How much
Oh,
money do we need to make in order to not lose money every month?
that's
I
probably a
think
really
that's
good
so
number to
important,
know.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like just that number. And if you know that
Yeah, just
number,
that number.
you will know what you're making or what you're losing.
Yeah, and then also your food cost comes into that, right? Because then so I always thought when I started culinary business strategy, I was going to be like a chef for hire. I was going to go in when there was a problem and help fix it, and do a little bit of food and a little bit of people and a little bit of
Redo the
numbers.
menu a little and
Yeah, I thought I was going to have it all. I was going to tweak things and say, "Go get them, Tigers," and then I would leave and go on to the next one, and I would circle back. And as it turns out, so much more of what I do is about numbers because people simply don't know their numbers.
you wanted to cook. Turns out you're an accountant.
I'm like an accountant storyteller, right?
Tell me a story.
Well, so here's the thing. I just started, I think I mentioned to you earlier that I just started this new project.
Yes. Tell me about the project. What is the project?
It's called The Numbers Tell a Story.
The numbers tell a story.
And it's helping restaurant and food and beverage business people and restaurateurs know the story of their numbers. Because often there's this disconnection, right? Between buying eggs or the price of milk today. And
Versus
then I
what?
don't know my numbers until 4 to 6 weeks later when the accountant sends back my financial reports.
So how do we
And so I'm
tell?
trying to,
How do we tell the
what?
story? How do we tell the story? What's
Well,
the,
by looking at the charts, looking at financial reports, which are actually readily available, I turn it into a bunch of charts and pictures, and I draw
because we're
lines.
all children and we all need our hand held a little sometimes,
I mean, I need
which
my
is true.
handheld in the scary areas.
Yeah, no, we all do. And a lot of us don't realize it, but I mean, the people who run our country need their hands held, right? If there's not somebody to tell them what's in a bill, they probably don't know because they didn't read it. They don't have the attention spans of the time to go through it, right? So you have to rely on outside sources just for our political leaders to know what the hell they're voting on. And that's across the board. That's not political sided, right? That's just all of them.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I had no idea until I started. I own a creative media company too, and so we work with one of the CBD companies, and they're lobbying every year to the Georgia Senate, right? Just so that the people up there know what's going on. Because you get up there and they have no idea. Like even the people I work with got up there and they're like, I can't even believe how dysfunctional government really is. Once you're up there, it's just you're just like, holy shit, what is happening? Nobody has a clue what anybody is doing up here.
Why is that? Just because they're seriously just not paying attention?
Yeah, I mean it's just a job, right? It's a job like any other job. You get up, you go to work, like you try to do as little as possible to get your paycheck and go back home. Unless you're on some like crusade, right? It's just a job.
But there are lots of people that's just a job.
Yeah,
And sometimes the job is not knowing.
and they were picked. Sometimes they didn't want to do it, but other people pick them, get them to run for office, get them elected, and now they're up there, and now they're expected to read all these bills and like make all these decisions about stuff they don't really know anything about, right? And unless there's someone there to hold their hand and tell them what all of this means, right? Like the lawyers come out and be like, no, this is actually what's in here, because there's stuff hidden in there too, right? On a lot of things. So without somebody's third party to overlook it and give them the information directly, they're probably not going to take the time to sit and read through it and analyze it because it's not really their job. That's, you know what I mean? It's crazy. I was mind blown. I mean, I always know it's a shit show, but like, I was just super impressed by how much of an actual shit show it really is. Most impressive.
Right. That's so true.
But
Right?
anyway,
We know it's
hands.
a shit show, but we didn't realize to what degree.
Yeah, I mean, but it really makes sense
What
because
about it?
we're all just a bunch of idiots running around, right? Trying to do the best that we can do in whatever it is we're doing. And so why would anybody else not be doing the same thing?
Well, see, this ties into exactly part of how the numbers tell a story came to be because I have a friend that is an advisor to businesses, not specifically restaurant, but to businesses. And she was like, And she's more of like the marketing, creative side. And she was like, what's the deal with the numbers? And I was like, look, I stand on my soapbox and my stump speech is about know your numbers, know your food costs and all that. But the truth of the matter is, I would say in the high 90s is how the percentage of restaurants that don't know their food costs, because it seems cumbersome and ever changing and I don't get it and why do it and we'll just figure it out. And the truth of the matter is most people get away with not knowing their food cost in the same way that most state governments are shit shows, right? Like we just don't know to what degree.
We're making it through one day at a time, like whatever comes our way today, we're going to deal with that. But it's not that hard to get your food cost, right? Like this is the amount of product that goes into each dish. This is how much the product costs divided by the amount of pieces and parts that can go into each dish, which will get sold at X amount of dollars, which was made by an employee at this hourly rate. Right? That's pretty much it, right?
The math, here's the thing is there's no math in restaurants that is hard at all. There's nothing above, I don't know, 5th or 6th grade.
Is there a good equation, right?
Yeah.
Just like one equation to just plug in and boom, here's your food cost?
Absolutely. There are several. I have a thing that's called the Food Cost Cookbook.
Oh.
And you just plug and chug, like you put it in, it's the same thing. Because what's really important about the food cost, here's the thing, if I could whisper, I'm on a mission to help every food and beverage business owner run a more successful and profitable business. Because if they are successful and profitable, which means taking some time off and having some money, paying people like living wages, then the world is a better place.
Living a happy life.
Living a happy life, doing some basic happy things is a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, the thing is that people think that they all have to have a food cost or a labor cost that is like somebody else. And the thing that if I could give like everybody one little gift, it would be the food cost doesn't matter. It's only important relative to myself. That my food cost doesn't need to be like 30%. It needs to be consistent with what I projected it to be. And it needs to not fluctuate like crazy.
Just needs to be locked in. So you can have certain items on the menu that are that might be super sellers that are at a 70% food cost, but they keep the people coming in and other people ordering the lower food cost items where you make your actual money at.
Listen to you. Nail on the head. Exactly, right? You have loss leaders and cash cows.
Mm-hmm.
So you can sell the fancy lobster at a really high food cost, but it's going to keep one person that buys lobster is, also selling like 3 roasted chickens at the same table.
Mm-hmm. And the cocktails and
a cocktail, right? Sell beer or sell booze.
Mm-hmm. Because someone who's having lobster is probably also going to be drinking. So, and probably the more expensive wine.
Yeah, you want to sell that. So, and the other thing that's the opposite of food cost is the contribution margin. And people just that's an old school term that people don't talk about anymore.
I have no idea. What is the contribution?
You totally know what it is. You just don't know it as that term because you've talked about it like 3 times.
Okay.
So basically, let's just say if you're selling lobster that has a 70% food cost, the contribution margin is going to be 30%. Right? It's the opposite. It's the money that you have left over after you take care of your prime cost, which is your food and your labor. So if you're selling peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and it costs you $1.50 to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, the $3.50 left over is the contribution margin. And that's what you really want to know, because that's the money that you have remaining to
buy more stuff.
Buy more stuff, pay your rent, all of that.
Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha.
Super important. That's what you really care about.
Super important. It always blows my mind, still to this day, the amount of people, after all the television series is, right, all of the kitchen nightmares, that people still open restaurants thinking that it's going to be just the easiest thing in the world. They're just going to, they got a friend who's a great cook. They're going to run the kitchen. Right? They've never been a chef before, but they make really great food. And we're just going to do this thing, right? And yet they have never even watched an episode of Kitchen Nightmares, and you're like, dude, you might want to go like at least like get the basics because there is a lot to learn in there, and yet they do it anyway.
And yet they do it anyway. All my friends and family say that I make a really good chocolate chip cookie, so therefore I am going to
be a baker and open a cookie shop. Do you
Just
know?
because your friends and family say it's great doesn't mean that you can sell it. I came up with this thing a couple of years ago or several years ago that I thought was so dumb. I was saying to a friend of mine who was like, because often I have people saying, I want to join your company. It sounds so fun at what you do. And I'm like, yeah, it's nothing but fun.
So much
Don't
fun.
get me wrong. I love my work. I have my favorite job on the planet, but it's not Disneyland,
Yeah, it's
right? You have to talk to people. People come to me when they have problems. Most of the time, people don't come to me when life is good.
right.
Right. And so I had a friend come to me and she's like, yeah, I want to work with you because it sounds like fun. And I was like, you have to have some skill in this arena and stuff like that. But anyway, we were talking and she's like, well, what's the secret to success in the hospitality industry? And I'm like, it's not that hard. You just have to sell the right product at the right place, at the right time, to the right people, at the right price, the right.
But it's not that hard.
Thank you for laughing. You're the first person I've ever said that to that's coupled with me. And I'm like, yeah, you just have to get things aligned, right? Like you sell a McDonald's cheeseburger to a McDonald's cheeseburger eating person.
Mm-hmm.
At a
Location,
McDonald's cheeseburger price.
location, demographic, price point.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
How
like,
do you know so much about the hospitality industry?
say again.
How do you know so much about the hospitality industry?
I was a busser when I was 15 at a fine dining restaurant hotel called the Buxton Inn in Granville, Ohio. Super haunted. We dressed like pirates. We all wore Victorian outfits. And that was my first restaurant job. And then later when I was 18, I became a server. I was a prep cook there after that for a little while. And then I just worked in the service industry for 20 years through college, jizz, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, bartending. I was a restaurant manager for several years, a couple different restaurants. I was never a chef. I've never been a chef, but I've been around a ton of chefs, and I hang out with chefs a lot and cookbook authors, and I'm a home cook. But yeah, just being in the service industry for over 25 years now.
I mean, so obviously you just pay a lot of attention because you know stuff that other people wouldn't know.
Well, I've fixed places before too. It was never a job or like, a business of mine, but like people are just like, what, hey, I'm doing this thing. What am I doing? I'm like, well, you need this, you need that. Let's work on your marketing. I'm more of a marketing person now, but just in the basics of running a restaurant. I got a friend right now who just opened, he has a hot dog cart and he's had the hot dog cart for a while and it goes gangbusters, but he wanted a brick and mortar so bad. And he's been working and he got the spot like right as COVID happened. And they just now opened the coffee shop portion of it just now, like from, this is 2023 now. And so I went over there and saw it yesterday actually. And they don't have food yet. They don't have a liquor license yet. And I'm like, man, how do you not have any of these things yet? Like you get these things, right? Because it's been so long. And it's just, I don't know how they've managed to like pay the rent on the place. I think maybe the landlord's just really cool. But just going back, this is where you need to put your sign. You need a sign here. You need, because this is, just to get the traffic here and all these businesses back behind you. Make cards, go get, give them free stuff, get them over here. Go all these apartment buildings over here, just the marketing, getting people over there. But first, let's make sure that this place is like, ready to rock and roll before you start doing anything. So you don't want to give a first bad impression. So.
No, the thing is about the first impression, you only get one.
Yep.
You got to be really careful.
And then the people talk. And people talk.
People talk.
The more people you have talking positively, the better your business is going to be.
Yeah. And if they don't talk, something's wrong.
Uh-huh. So.
I have a client that had it'd be hard to explain without showing it, but like basically it was a street. It wasn't a walking street, it was a driving street, and it was 4 lanes, but it was a driving street. And it was on a corner that was not a very significant corner, right? It was just a corner in this, it was an intersection, and his building was like this. And he put his business name on the corner of his business. And so it said halfway here, it was like Reyshan's. But over here it looked like Ray, and over here it looked like Sean's. But you never saw Reyshan's unless you were standing exactly 22 and a half feet away at exactly this angle.
Which
right?
is cool, but not real proactive.
It was super cool on the corner, but it only worked for like 5 feet. And it was like nobody could ever tell when you drove past what the name of this restaurant was. And so I was like, put a sign that says Reyshan.
I mean, you can keep the cool thing, but at least on each side of the building, put the full name.
Yeah.
Least, right?
Yeah, it's important. We don't see that. And so often we forget that good marketing is about, repelling just as much as it is attracting. Right? We want to say, this is where you can, Domino's pizza eaters, come here.
But don't go there.
Table pizza eaters, go away.
Right? You really got to get your demographic. You got to think about it before you even open the restaurant. Just because, you wanted to open a soul food restaurant, if the location that you end up with isn't demographically appropriate for a soul food restaurant, you might want to consider a different style of food for wherever you manage to get your brick and mortar at. Just
so
don't,
true.
because you're trying to run a business. You're not trying, it's a business. People forget that. You have a passion. I'm a soul food cooker. I want to open a soul food restaurant. This is the place that I got. Is there anybody going to come to this restaurant from there? I mean, they'll have to drive a long way. It's just, you got to do all your research on location before you even think about it.
Yeah, that's why the 5 R's are so important, right? The right product to the right place, to the right people. Like, who are your soul food eating people?
And
I just met a guy who has a cafe outside of Puerto Vallarta, and he's serving bagels and cream cheese and cappuccinos. And people are like, why aren't you serving Mexican food? And he was like,
people want bagels.
Look around. Like, every other restaurant in this town is Mexican food. Like,
they need something different. I'm serving bagels. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the bagels. I've been trying to open a bagel shop in Savannah for years, and I just never get around to doing it because we don't have like that like steamed bagel sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Like the steamed bagel sandwich, where it's just hot and gooey.
Yeah, where do you get those, or where are those from?
You get steamers, right? So you can get bagels from anywhere. Who cares, right? But I mean, people care. People care hard about bagels, but
people are very touchy about their bagels.
If you just take, say, one of my favorites is just a pizza bagel, right? Pizza bagel sandwich. So, you just put everything that you would want on a pizza bagel, mozzarella, tomato, pepperoni, banana peppers, whatever. You wrap it in tinfoil. You put it in a steamer, like little steam boxes, right? Sandwich steamer.
Yeah.
And just steam it for like 2 minutes. You pull it out, and the bagel, because bagels are cooked in water, gets rehydrated from the steam. So now it's all ooey gooey and like chewy again from the steam, and it's just the best damn bagel sandwich you ever have. If you steam it, like, fuck toasting. Steam a bagel sandwich. It is the tits.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And no one around here does that. There's a place back in my hometown called Bagel Street Deli, and like a line around the corner all day, every day. It's a college town, right? And all they do is this very simple Subway setup, right, with steamers and bagels, and they just make the different sandwiches. Steam up peanut butter, banana, steamed. Oh yeah, delicious.
Is it?
Yeah.
Where's Bagel Street Deli?
Athens, Ohio.
Wow.
But
you have to be careful that you mention Ohio, because everybody's going to think you mean Athens, Georgia. Huh?
Yeah, Athens, Ohio. But it's the one thing, because Savannah's a college town, and it's the one thing that it doesn't have. It's just that really quick, wrapped in tinfoil, throw it out a window, ooey gooey, delicious bagel sandwich, ham and cheese, whatever you want, man. You put it on a bagel, steam it, delicious.
The thing is that's super important to have that kind of classic thing. I was actually just in Athens, Georgia,
Were
a
you?
couple of months ago. Yeah. And they have something. Oh, what's the name of it? It's a famous restaurant. Everybody would know except for me. I want to call it the Stadium.
I've never been to Athens, but I know what you're talking about. I got
But
some
it's
friends
that
in.
classic Americana grilled cheese hamburger. It's the name of the place that everybody goes to that's been there forever. I think it's called the Stadium.
I
But
mean,
anyway, you can go and you get your classic college town
Americana.
Americana, exactly. And so if you want a steamed bagel sandwich that you grew up with, absolutely, you should, every town should have that. I hope you open it. What's holding you back?
I just don't want to go work. I just don't want to do it. I did at one point, like years ago, right? But now I've tried to give it to a bunch of other people too. Just like, hey, you should do this. Why don't you go do that? Hey, I'll give you my bagel idea. Just do it. And no one has.
Yeah, right. I mean, you want to be the concept guy. You don't want to be the actual bagel steamer.
Yeah, I don't want to. No. And you can't. I mean, and making the bagels is just way too much of a pain in the butt. So, and we have plenty of like bakeries that you could collab with and like get the bagels fresh every morning, re-steam them every morning, give them away to the homeless people at the end of the day, and you know.
We're having a bagel revolution in the Bay Area at the moment, or in the East Bay. So, and
Hey, you're
people are
welcome.
always,
Hey, if you start steaming some bagels, you let me know.
that's right.
I mean,
haven't
it's a
seen
great
steamed
food
bagels.
truck. It's a great food truck idea too. But
Isn't it?
oh yeah,
Yeah, because you're consistent food costs. That's what's great about it, right?
your Subway.
And you can sell them all day, every day.
Yep, super easy.
Okay, well, I'm curious about it. I've only
You're
had a steamed
welcome.
bagel
You're
sandwich
welcome,
once in my
everyone
life.
out there. If you want to go steal my damn bagel idea, I won't sue you yet.
Yeah, no, you won't. That's amazing.
Pretty sure I can't unless I trademark a name.
Yeah, but we don't
But
have a name yet, so
nah, I have a
you're
couple.
good.
I had a couple.
Did you?
Yeah, but I'll keep those to
Man,
myself.
on some level, I want you to go do it just so you.
Maybe I will. We don't have the best food truck policies in Savannah, which is really a shame because we have some really great food trucks and they can only be in certain places, and so it's real hard for them to maintain just like schedules and being all over different places, because there's not like a strip, like some like major cities just have that food truck strip where all the food trucks hang, and we just don't have that. And you have to have a brick and mortar. So even to own a food truck, you have to have a brick and mortar store before you can have the truck.
Isn't that funny how we have different food truck laws all over the country?
I don't know.
And food trucks are like kind of on the coast right now. The food trucks are a little bit passe. And I
The
know
fad's
that
dying.
yeah, it's past time. People are like over it. We've done that before. But other people have, but in the middle of the country, I have people who are like, do you have a food truck business plan, or do you have numbers for a food truck? And I'm like, yeah, why? And they're like, well, we're thinking they're getting popular around here. And I'm like, okay,
I mean,
like Wyoming and places like
Wyoming and
that.
Nebraska, and yeah,
Yeah,
places where the fad's just now reaching.
yeah. I
But
remember reading a New York Times article about 10 years ago about the Meyer lemon that was making it. And I was like, Meyer lemon is not new, friends.
it's a lemon. It's been around forever.
We've had it for a hot minute. I'm impressed at how much you know about the hospitality industry by just having been in the industry and not been a chef or an owner or something like that.
I mean, it's just business, right? So
It is just business, but obviously you were paying attention because there are a lot of people that are in business that don't know this stuff.
I watch a lot of Kitchen Nightmares too. So we
Really?
can thank Gordon.
I don't think I've ever watched Kitchen Nightmares.
Have you
I should
never? Oh, it's
try. I
great.
don't think so.
I mean, even later, so he would do fucking 24 Hours in Hell, which is basically Kitchen Nightmares, but in 24 hours. So show up at a failing restaurant and in 24 hours flip it around. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just heartfelt stories. It's probably like that show was one of the first positive reality TV shows to come out, where, I mean, sure, it was entertaining because it's Gordon in there yelling at idiots, right? But, but at the end of the day, he really, truly does help them, and for the most part, across the board, the history of it, there's only been a handful that actually failed after he left.
That's actually impressive because it looks like afterwards everybody is,
Doing so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's only one episode ever that he literally walked out on, where he's like, "I cannot deal with you, lady. I am gone," and just left. Yeah. Like she was.
What happened?
She was just
That's
crazy.
bad.
She was just the hardest, stubbornest, like most delusional woman. And I think her husband or her boyfriend that ran it with her, and both of them were just unbearable. And Gordon actually got up and left. He was like, "Nope." And it was a whole scandal. It was in the news. Like Gordon Ramsay walks out of a restaurant, right? Like, cannot save this one.
I'm looking it up. As soon as we're done, I'm looking it up because, I mean, sometimes people come to me and they say they want help, and then they're like, no, 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 no. And I'm like,
I guess you didn't really want help.
How can I help you?
I mean,
well, it's not going to work. And I'm like, okay, you're right.
I mean, even just the breaking of them, the break, because you got to break some of them, right? They want help, but they're so stubborn that they literally you have to break them down, which is why, he is that asshole in the beginning, right? Because he's dealing with a bunch of, what is his term for it? Denial. They're just in denial. Right? They're just owners in denial who won't accept the fact that this is their responsibility, their fault, and they are the source of the problem, right? And until we fix you, we can't fix your restaurant. And so
that's the big challenge in my job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people get a little touchy when you break them down.
They do.
Right? I'm not some big famous person with a TV show and a whole film crew behind me. And sometimes you just have to be like, there you go. Let me know how that works.
Mm-hmm. Some people. Some people are great. Some people are, oh God.
Some people are great. Some people really want solutions and say, but I think that comes from relationships. People that have had
trust.
Yeah. That I have relationships with they'll trust me.
Right.
I have a lot of clients that are what we call repeat offenders, but in a nice way.
Oh.
Like they go and they solve one problem and they come back and they're like, okay, now I want to expand or I want to do something else.
So I made a whole new set of problems. Can you help me with those?
Yeah.
Hey, but at least they're growing. At least they're growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. What are you having for dinner tonight?
That is a great question. And I don't just mean like, oh, gee, that's a great question, but it's a great thing to say when you're having dinner, because I often ask people the same thing, like, what's on the menu? So here's one of my favorite weird comfort foods, or I don't know if it's weird, but I eat this a ridiculous amount of time, but I love it so much that it's okay. I love roasting boneless, skinless chicken thighs.
Oh.
With like either marinated or, some different kind of marinated, change that flavor all the time. And then I put it on top of salad.
Oh, well, that's simple and delicious.
It's simple and delicious. It's like chicken salad. I eat chicken salad so frequently. And as soon as you said that, what are you having for dinner tonight? I was like, it's Tuesday. Not super booked. Don't have an evening meeting. That's great. I'm making chicken salad. So now that the weather is beautiful, we have spring in California. I run outside and I grill on the back, and then I serve us all up a chicken salad, and it's one of my favorites.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
I also pickle a lot of vegetables, and so I can make a vinaigrette with the ferment juice, or I can chop up the pickled vegetables really small, so there's a little bit of
zing in there. Yeah.
What about you? What are you gonna have?
Oh, what am I having for dinner tonight? I don't know.
What would you have, like, if you could have anything?
So I've been really into barbecuing my chicken wings like my grandfather used to. It's now like one of my favorite things. It takes forever because I slow cook them on the grill for a long time, for about an hour, probably just flipping them every like 10, 15 minutes back and forth. Just could I get, and then turn up the heat, get the skin crispy, and then start adding barbecue sauce. And I probably will. Then I'll turn the heat back down and let them just flip those, barbecue them, glaze them probably like 5 times, just flipping them, glazing them, and flipping them and glazing them. And then they're done. And they fall apart and they're delicious.
So it takes like an hour to do chicken wings because it's super slow.
Yeah, because I'm super picky about it and I want it to be I just want it to be perfect. And so to get them just the way that I like them, yeah, it takes about an hour.
Good for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that we learn in a pandemic.
It might just be my excuse to stand outside by my grill longer, but...
Right, there is something lovely about that, right? To sit back and play. That's awesome. So you could have chicken wings. Yeah, I mean, now that we can be outdoors again, right? Spring it makes us all very happy.
I love spring. We actually are having spring right now too, so it's nice.
So how long does that last for you?
It depends. Ever since about 2020, we literally got like 3 months of spring. And every year it varies between like 2 months to a month, but we'll get like that 75, 80 degree weather before it shoots up to 105 and then stays there for 3 months.
Yeah, is that miserable, or do you like that kind of heat?
Oh no, it is miserable. It is super miserable. I do not recommend it. It is just awful. It is. You don't want to go outside. Like you open the front door and the humidity and the heat just blasts you in the face and you just almost suffocate, right? From just the humidity in the air. And you're like, I can't go out in that. Oh, God. Mm-hmm. You walk out the door covered in sweat just 2 seconds after you were out the door. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's all sticky and yucky, right?
Oh, it's super sticky and yucky. Yeah, it's just awful. But I survive it. I still go walks in the woods in the middle of it, like the heat of the day. I take the dogs. I take ice water. And I dump it on their backs, like about every 20 minutes or so, just like along their spine, just to keep their bodies cool.
So you have the woods near you. You have you can get out into the country nearby.
Yeah, it's like a nature preserve. So we don't have a lot of hiking or anything in Savannah. It's all super flat and swampy, but there's a couple little trails. Yeah.
Swampy. Don't step on any alligators or anything.
No, we got gators. We got gators.
Do you?
Oh yeah, we got gators. We got copperheads. We have things for the most part.
What does a copperhead look like?
Like golden with like diamond spots on it, and they don't come out in the daytime. So that's why I go in the summertime in the middle of the heat, because the copperheads sleep in the daytime because they hate the heat. And so they come out at night.
Good. You do not want to hang with those guys.
No. So they hate the heat of the day. So for the dog's sake, and they're only out in the summertime. So I go in the middle of the daytime in the middle of the 105 degree heat with 100% humidity, just to avoid the copperheads.
Because you will die, right?
The dogs definitely would. If you got treatment soon enough, you'd be fine. But.
Yeah, but that's still scary, right? It's like a rattlesnake out here.
Yeah, pretty much.
But copperhead, I don't know about him. Oh, he seems worse. Go ahead, what?
Black moccasins are worse. A black moccasin will kill you real quick.
Those are the ones that go in the water.
Those are the water ones. Yeah.
Where do those guys live?
They live in lakes and like larger bodies of crappy water.
Have you ever seen one?
Yeah. They're in Ohio too. They're in even like Buckeye Lake, which is just like this huge fucking man-made lake. Dude,
do we not swim in Buckeye Lake?
Yeah, you swim in Buckeye Lake. They're just, I think they're more scared of people, right? So they're not really out to get you. But if you, accidentally kicked one, I don't know. Anyway,
let's get off the snakes.
Where can everybody find you if we wanted to go find you and follow you?
You are so kind.
Hire
Thank you for indulging me all my weird questions. I would love that. I'd love to talk to people about The Numbers Tell the Story. It's a short project that I'm working on, so it's not forever, and it's designed to help people know their own numbers and not have to rely on a consultant or an accountant, teaching people how to tell their own numbers by stories and stuff. So people can find me at Culinary Business Strategy. And that's kind of across the board, culinary business strategy. It's website,
Facebook, Instagram,
Facebook, all of it.
All of it. And
Culinary
the links are all down here in the bio. So feel free to go click on Deagon's links and check her out. Because she's awesome.
I've so enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sorry it took us a year to get together, but we had a great time once we did.
We did, and I appreciate your grace. You were so kind to me after a year, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. And tell California I said hello.
I will wave at your hometown, your true hometown.
Oh, please do.
As I go through next time.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Deagon.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day. And everybody, go watch my TV show.